Whoops. There. Okay. So what we're talking about in this lesson is going to be how do we find our roots and zeros. Now, with these equations up here, notice the only difference in what we're doing now and in what we had before when we're looking at these and when we look at the problems we did with our slip and slide method, the only difference is these were not set equal to 0. These are. So when they're set equal to 0, that means we're going to find where the zeros are. And that's where does this parabola cross the x-axis. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is factor. All right, so a is greater than 1, so we're going to use the slip and slide method. Slip and slide means slip the 2 over to that 2. This 2 goes over to that 2. And 2 times 2 is, everybody? Thank you, 4. Okay, now our new equation is going to be x squared plus 5x plus 4. Now, product, sum, because now we're going to factor that. So our product needs to be 4. Our sum needs to be 5. Not 5x, just 5. Both of these numbers, everything in this equation is positive, so that tells me both signs are going to be positive. Now, what am I going to put here and here? X and X. Yeah, you can ask questions. Do you have a question? Yes, you can ask questions during this. Because if you have a question, then you're watching it, you'll probably have a question. Yes? Look at her. She's got it done already. 1 times 4. What is 1 plus 4? 5. Bada bing, bada bang. 1, 4. Okay. Now, what am I? That was my slip. What am I sliding back? The 2. So now I'm going back under those numbers that were my factors, and putting a 2. Now, that's a fraction. It does not reduce. So the 2 is going to slip in front of the x on our next step down. And that's going to be 2x plus 1. And there's our parentheses. Now, what is 4 divided by 2? 2. Okay, so that is just going to end up being a 2. We reduce it. If it reduces to an integer, then we're not going to have a fraction. We're just going to put what that would be. So now this is going to be x plus 2. Okay. Now, that is the factoring portion of it. Now remember, what was at the end of this? This was an equation, not an expression. So it said equals 0, right? So now all we're going to do is separate these two quantities. I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to put 2x plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to move this one over here, and I'm going to say x plus 2 equals 0. Now I have a very basic, simple algebraic problem to solve for. I want to solve for x. What's the first thing I'm going to do here? Subtract 1. Subtract 1. Now I have 2x equals negative 1. What's my next move? Better? Okay, so this is 2x equals negative 1. What do I do? Divide out the 2. And x equals negative 1/2. Oh, kind of like what we had up here, but the opposite sign, right? Think there's a connection? Yeah, we just subtracted that, put it to the other side, made it negative. Okay, and what about this one? Subtract 2. And x equals negative 2. So that means if I went to graph this, I would create my x and y coordinate plane, and I would go to negative 2 and put a little mark, and I would go to negative 1/2 and make a mark, and then those are the places where the equation is going to pass the x-axis. There's more to it that we're going to be learning, but that gives you an idea of what those are all about. That is getting the roots and the zeros. So all you're doing, you're factoring, and then you're solving for those zeros. Taking it apart, setting it equal to 0, and then solving the algebra problem that is right there. Okay? Good luck. You can do this. Just takes practice.